Coming up on this episode of the IoT Inc. Business Show.
It's a very important information which helps with both mobile and offline marketing activities. And then brands and retailers can reposition the interior and marketing activities to improve and to direct the foot traffic and physical behavior for a better engagement, to increase the dwell time and to increase the conversion rates from passers-by to the shoppers.
It takes a lot, and I mean a lot, to get me to download yet another app on my phone, especially one that's going to try to sell me something. But I'm open to retail IoT tech. I'm not much of a physical shopper, probably because I find the whole shopping experience so dreary. But this so-called offline-online convergence within retail has piqued my interest. In this episode of the IoT Business Show, I speak with Oleg Puzanov about proximity marketing and where it's headed with IoT.
All this and more on this episode of the IoT Inc. Business Show. The people, the business, and the technology of the next generation internet. This is the IoT Inc. Business Show. And now, here's your host, Bruce Sinclair.
Hello and welcome to the IoT Inc. Business Show. This show is made possible by sales of my book, IoT Inc., published by McGraw-Hill, and the IoT Inc. Certified IoT Professional, or ICIP, online training and certification program. Become a certified IoT professional by completing the program's 3 courses: ICIP Technology, ICIP Business, and ICIP Strategy and Digital Transformation. Details of which can be found at www.iot-inc.com. That's www.iot-inc.com. With me today on the IoT Show is Oleg Puzanov. Oleg is CEO and co-founder of the IoT startup Leantegra. He has over 15 years of experience in IT companies dealing with embedded systems and working with IoT since 2004. Prior to Leantegra, he's worked for several companies in the US, Europe, and Ukraine in the areas of telecom, smart home, connected car, and location-based services. Oleg, welcome to the show.
Hi, Bruce. My pleasure.
So how's the IoT scene in Ukraine?
Well, I should say it is doing great, in multiple areas. There are both local projects in Kiev here,
Okay.
New projects in the area of makers, more serious stuff like smart city projects. This is what we do as well, projects for retail. So I see a very, very visible trend about IT here, which is very positive.
So that's good. So there is the maker community, which I would hope and expect, but you're also seeing some commercial activity as well. Some companies focusing, like yourselves, focusing on the commercial aspect or the B2B aspect of IoT.
Yes, absolutely. I also would like to add that some years ago, all IoT projects which we had here in Ukraine were mainly about outsourcing, right? Those were consulting projects, so we developed different kinds of devices and software for companies from the US and Europe. Now, a local market here in Ukraine appears as well. So we have some local deployments in Kiev, like at the airports, at shopping malls, supermarkets. So we see, a growing demand locally for IoT solutions.
No, excellent. Now, yeah, you've got a lot of experience in IoT since 2004, so you're like a major veteran.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your background, and of course, a little bit about yourself as well.
Yeah, at that time, like 12 years ago, there was no such a term as IoT.
Yeah,
it was just called, embedded systems or embedded systems with wireless protocols. Later, a word M2M has appeared, as you remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
And only then IoT. So my background with embedded systems started with some consulting projects for the customers from Israel. Those were wireless handsets and some communication devices based on ARM and Linux. So I spent several years, developing mainly embedded software, C, C++, some Java, embedded Java. And then I also had some projects for the customers from Europe, which developed smart home devices. Those were wireless gateways, which served, all the wireless sensors at home and also provided the local Wi-Fi connectivity. I also used to spend some time in the space of connected cars. So, for example, I used to work at a company called CloudMate. They're developing a pretty advanced cloud platform for serving big data analytics services for cars. Mm-hmm. And right now at Leantegra, I'm also pretty deeply involved into all embedded stuff, both hardware engineering, starting from conceptual design to PCB design, ending with embedded software, QA, pretty much everything.
Now, how long has Leantegra been around for now?
So officially, Leantegra has been founded in the end of 2013.
Okay.
But, our first office and, full-scale operations with the team members, and the full-time development, it has started, I think, in the end of September 2014.
Okay. Well, you guys have been pretty busy. I mean, I came across your company in the area of proximity marketing. Yeah. And that's something that I'm interested in. Why don't you take us through, what is proximity marketing and how does it use the Internet of Things?
Okay, so that's a very good question. So proximity marketing is all about engaging the foot traffic, such as shoppers inside the supermarkets and shopping malls. Mm-hmm. So to make that happen, you need a system or a solution with several components. The main component is about BLE beacons, Bluetooth Low Energy beacons, which broadcast specific packets using iBeacon or Eddystone standard. So iBeacon, it's a standard promoted by Apple, and Eddystone is promoted by Google. They're pretty similar, though I should say that Eddystone is more advanced. It supports some more use cases. So that's about BLE beacons. You also need to have a mobile SDK, right, and a mobile app, basically, to receive those signals. So our products include mobile SDKs for Android and iOS. So that's number two. And also you need to have like a backend system for creating and managing the proximity campaigns, where you will upload the content, you will create the targeting rules. Let's say if a person steps into a proximity zone, let's say immediate proximity zone, then please show this video or this picture. It's a pretty common scenario, right, for targeted advertising.
It's still pretty advanced, though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So from practical perspective, how it is used, let's say, for retail. So our BLE beacons are attached, let's say, at the shelves inside the stores or at the entrances. Right. And when a shopper, which has a mobile app installed, is walking near, let's say, an entrance and his mobile app catches the BLE signal, then he gets a message or a push notification. It can say, please walk in, you will get a discount, it can be a coupon, whatever, right? And this way, we provide the so-called contextual advertising at the right time, at the right place, right? And this way, we increase the conversion rates, and we improve the whole sales funnel for retailers.
No, I mean, it sounds great, and obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious, but it reminds me of the movie Minority Report as he's walking through, right, the hall and different things come up. But I think, the biggest challenge, I would assume, is going to be to get people to install the apps on their mobile phones. How do you motivate people to do that? Because it must be a very small percentage of people that actually have it installed before they enter a store, or am I getting it wrong?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it is a very popular question among our customers. Yes, we keep being asked, what to do about the mobile app installations. Not all people would like to install our apps, so what we should do. So there are two approaches here. So the one which has been practiced now, it is about promoting mobile app using various channels. Posters, online advertising. Let's say our customer is from Israel. They're investing their efforts and money into promoting their app. And this is a coupon app for proximity-based coupons. So it's just about, promoting the value which consumers will get from this app. And it's not just, to get some nice offers. It's also about getting, very useful information about the products. which have been sold, inside the stores. So that's number one. And number two, this is about using new technologies. For example, Eddystone has a specific type of communications which is called Eddystone URL. And this approach, it doesn't require any mobile app installations.
Right.
So how it works? So some web browsers like Google Chrome, they are integrated with the Bluetooth stack, let's say, of Android operating system, right? And they're able to get the BLE proximity messages directly without any mobile apps. So basically, you just need to have a Chrome installed on your phone, no other apps, and the next time you will walk by a BLE beacon, you will get a message.
Okay. So no, I've heard about this, and I've actually seen the presentation, and I'm trying to remember the name of the gentleman in Google. He used to not be in Google, but then he was then brought into Google to do this. So in that case, you're saying you just need to have Chrome, and you don't need to have any application installed at all. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. And I've just recalled another very important approach which has just appeared recently. So it has been brought by Google. It is called Google Nearby. So this is not specifically about proximity marketing. You cannot, create proximity campaigns with that approach, but at least, that approach can help to install mobile apps. So how it works? So at Google Play, when you register an app for Android, you can associate some BLE beacons with your app, right? And the next time when a person with an Android smartphone will walk nearby those registered beacons, he will get a notification. Please install this app. Just like an extra channel for pushing your app for installations. So there are multiple new options which keep appearing. So I think that big hurdle or big challenge about app installations, it becomes less and less challenging.
Yeah, no, I can see that. And I think the key is maybe number two, what you were talking about was adding some value. Because I can think of my experience, not that I shop a lot, but when I do shop, I do like going to big hardware stores, and I take my son there, and we just spend time looking at all the tools and so forth. Yeah. But when I am shopping, I would like to get some comparative information. So this is not a small job, but if you can provide advertising, sure. I mean, I guess I'll take that once I've made my decision. But I'm thinking if I'm at a certain shelf and I'm comparing three products to each other,
yes,
it'd be sure nice to get some information. I can see that as being value. And then once you've identified, okay, I like this one, to maybe say, okay, give me an ad on it, and sell me now, right?
Yeah. So basically, this is one of the use cases at ACE in Israel, right? So basically, a person can bring his or her smartphone close to a product, then get a notification which will include, the detailed information about the product plus the discount and the coupon.
Yeah. No, I can see that makes sense. It's just going to be a lot of work that would have to go to, I suppose, digitize, these comparisons between the different products. But if that did happen, I'd be very open to it. Now, notwithstanding their security concerns, right? I mean, I think myself and a lot of people are shy about downloading any app unless we knew it was authentic. But I suppose if you're in the store and it's from the store, I mean, are there any tricks of the trade that allow or that you've seen to motivate people to install these apps, or is it just that people are ignorant about security and they'll do it anyway?
So in the space of proximity marketing specifically, I think we haven't heard any issues about security. We do have some issues and discussions in the area of location analytics. I think we'll discuss it later. But about proximity marketing, it's pretty straightforward. You just install an app and get some messages and useful information. You don't transfer any kind of personal data, so it's, and for sure it's the so-called opt-in installation, right? You clearly read and you see what you install. So I think there should be no issues here.
Okay. Well, let's talk about a typical pilot. Now, what you've said so far is we have obviously the beacons. In this case, they're a certain type of sensor. A push and a pull type of sensor, I suppose. And then we have the mobile app,
Yeah.
which makes sense. And you've got the back end, and you've kind of touched a little bit on analytics. But why don't you paint the picture for us of what does a typical pilot look like, and maybe just use some of your experience in doing so?
Yeah, so there are two kinds of minimal pilots which we provide, right? The most minimal will cost you like 2K, 3K. It's pretty affordable, right? And it will include just the BLE beacons, we call them power modes, and the mobile app, which is based on our mobile SDK, plus a free demo instance of our CVO portal, which is a web portal, for managing and launching proximity campaigns and viewing the analytics.
Okay.
So for that, again, you need just to stick around some BLE beacons inside the store, and that's it. On the backend side, you need to register them, and we also have device management module in our web portal, which also supports the so-called remote management. It's about remote provisioning, configuration, firmware upgrades, and 24/7 monitoring, which becomes really critical for large-scale installations. In the same web portal, you can do things like dragging and dropping beacons on the map of your store. So let's say IT support engineers will be able, to maintain them easily. If there are any issues with the battery, like the battery level is low, you get notification. So that's what we have on the web portal. Besides that, after the network part is done, the network of beacons is installed, you need to create some campaigns, upload content like pictures, videos, create campaigns with the targeting rules, let's say by proximity zones, by time, maybe by age and gender. We support that as well. Plus, what I would like to add in terms of an extended version of our minimal setup, we can also add some other devices, which we call power beacons. So power beacons are the wireless gateways which provide remote management and RTLS services for proximity marketing. So they enable that kind of 24/7 monitoring and remote management, which might not be, again, very relevant for small pilots, but sometimes our customers would like to try it out even on the small networks to understand how to work in large networks.
Okay. So let me understand. So we have the BLE beacons.
Yeah.
And quick question: Are they just sensing, or can we push information to them as well? I guess we must be able to push information. They must be able to pull and push information.
Yes, you're
Is
right.
that correct?
They're able to pull and push. Most part of the time, they are just pushing, broadcasting BLE packets. But let's say for the purposes of the remote management, to change the mode from iBeacon to Eddystone, or to change Eddystone URL, which is provisioned for BLE beacon, they can also receive the signals, and we do that from those bigger devices which I mentioned, which are called power beacons.
Yeah, I want to talk about the power beacons, but so I understand, can you interact with the beacon? So I walk up to an excellent looking drill, and there's some really good looking drills out there, and so I compare it with a couple other drills. I like this drill. I get an ad for the drill. Okay, it's selling me. I get a coupon for the drill. Great. Now can I close the loop, and can I click and say, all right, I want to buy this, or is it really not that closing the loop because you're in a physical store? So then you actually just pick it up and walk to the cashier.
Actually, some customers are requesting such kind of features. The so-called offline to online convergence, right, for the commerce. But, to make that happen, you don't need a beacon. Basically, what basically a BLE beacon does, it broadcasts its ID, or sometimes ID and URL, right? And then an app using our SDK, it gets that ID and sends the request to the server. Like, please give me information for this beacon with this ID. And the rest is done by the mobile app. So the scenario which you described, it's not that much dependent upon beacons. It's all the application logic.
Right. No, that actually makes sense, of course. So this can be done through the application, then you're just doing a direct communication with their application servers. Okay, so let's talk about the power beacons. And just to understand the topology of the wireless network, we have the BLE beacons.
Yeah.
And then you then mentioned the power beacon as kind of an optional thing, but I would think you would need some sort of wireless gateway to collect the information from the beacons, or maybe you don't. Maybe explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, so you're right that power beacons are optional devices because the proximity marketing network can run with power modes only, right, with the small devices which broadcast iBeacon Eddystone. Power beacons are mainly for remote management, right? They do not participate in the application use cases. So what they do, they collect BLE signals from all nearby, power modes, right, or BLE beacons, and just report their status to the cloud. So since power beacons have a PoE connection, Power or Ethernet, so they are always on, right? They have IP connection, they can send any kind of data. Plus, they can receive the commands from the cloud. Let's say if an operator using our web portal initiates firmware upgrade, then this is done from power beacons as well, which then communicates with the BLE beacons using, our proprietary BLE protocol.
Now, why do you need to have that local intelligence? Could you not do this all in the cloud as opposed to having, some computational surface right there locally?
Yeah, but as you understand, so BLE beacons, like our power modes, they have just BLE. They don't have IP connection. They cannot connect directly to the cloud. There must be a proxy module or proxy system, and for our case, this power beacon. But sometimes that's what we do as well, and some other companies are doing. They embed that proxying logic inside the mobile apps.
Right. And that's kind of where I was going with it. Is if you have this information on the mobile app and you're making that direct connection with the application server, why would you need the local gateway? I'm sure there's some good reasons, but that's what I'm kind of zeroing in on. Or is that just your implementation?
So yes, there are some very good reasons. So number one is the 24/7 monitoring. This is very crucial for large-scale installations because mobile apps, yes, they might be around, might be not, so you don't have, continuous monitoring of beacons. And let's say if you have an installation with tens of thousands of beacons, and let's say for some reasons, many of them went down, then you should react quicker, right? Then one of your customers with the app will approach the beacons and will report an issue. So having our power beacon in place will enable a more reactive, monitoring and maintenance. That's number one.
Right.
Then we can also do not just monitoring, but also configuration and things like firmware upgrade. It's pretty challenging with mobile apps because mobile apps, they might disappear. People are just walking by the device. They will not stay close to the BLE beacon until the firmware upgrade completes, right? And in our case, the firmware upgrade might run, let's say, for 1 minute. And there is a need, for a continuous connection with the beacon. And then the reason number three, besides remote management features, Power Beacon serve the function of RTLS gateway. So sometimes we combine RTLS and proximity marketing features into the same setup, right? And then Power Beacons, they also collect location information from beacons or location tags, as well as smartphones.
Can you explain RTLS a little bit more for me?
So RTLS is an acronym for a real-time location system. In our case, this is about discovering the real-time location data using Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and a technology called ultra-wideband.
Okay. So you're saying you need to go beyond just maybe time to device. I can't remember what it's called for beacons to understand where location is. You're now bringing in wireless, and you're bringing in ultra wireless, did you say?
Yes, so I mentioned three wireless technologies. The first one is Wi-Fi, which is familiar, right? Then Bluetooth. And the third one, it is called ultra-wideband.
Ultra-wideband,
yes.
Okay. And what is that exactly?
So ultra-wideband, it is a very specific wireless technology which enables a very high accuracy RTLS, down to 10 centimeters.
Got it. Okay. And how is this? So you're saying then the Wi-Fi and the ultra wideband is part of the power beacons, these wireless gateways, and they're transmitting or emitting this information again to be caught by the mobile app on the mobile phone. Yeah.
No, it's vice versa. So power beacons collect wireless signals of all nearby smartphones and location tags. And those smartphones, they might not even have any mobile apps installed.
Right.
So, it's just about collecting wireless traffic and then using our RTLS engine, converting that traffic to, XY coordinates.
So I can understand picking up the Wi-Fi off my phone. Now the ultra wideband, is that on my phone, or
No,
where's that emitting then?
Unfortunately, I would love, to have ultra wideband on all smartphones, but because of multiple reasons, it's not there. So we need to use our location tags, which we also developed. They're called power mode ultra wideband. They're something similar to BLE beacons, the same form factor, but the difference is in the technology, which is ultra wideband instead of BLE.
Okay, so you then correlate the proximity of the mobile phone with your beacon, and then that then identifies or then has a relationship with the ultra wideband emitter beacon to give you a little bit more accuracy. Can you maybe describe that?
Well, it's almost like that. So if you heard about, how RTLS systems work in general, there are several methods, right? So for the case of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, we are using RSSI-based methods. So basically, we are collecting the signal strength or the signals which arrive from smartphones and location tags. We use our proprietary algorithm to convert that to a distance, and then we use as well our proprietary algorithm, which is based on multi-iteration. Now, there is triliteration and multi-iteration. It's basically, if you will imagine, let's say there are 3 or 4 power beacons, right? And there is a smartphone somewhere, somewhere in the middle. Then the position of a smartphone will be on the intersection of several circles, right? That will be the position.
Okay, I understand that. Now, what about how does the ultra wideband then fit into that? I can understand with the Wi-Fi signal and the Bluetooth signal, but I'm not getting it now, the correlation between the ultra wideband and since you don't have it on your phone, how are you making that correlation?
So again, together with power beacons, we ship our ultra wideband location tags, right? The use case here might be, let's say, about shopping carts in supermarkets. We can attach those ultra.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's the same principle as Wi-Fi RTLS. A similar.
I understand. Okay, so then it's attached into something like a little basket or a shopping cart that the customer would have.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So I enjoyed that tutorial on RTLS, and I think that's going to be very valuable for everyone else listening as well. All right, so we've got it. We've got our pilot, and I'm just guessing, but you stand up the pilot for a pretty reasonable price, and you demonstrate as the shopper walks down the aisle. Maybe a video pops up or an SMS message pops up and says, "Oh, hello world, you're here," and maybe plays a little video saying, "Here's the drill, and look how good it is." So that's pretty good, right? And maybe you've got a little bit more. You've got a little bit on your back end. You can connect up to your portal. You can maybe show them a little bit of statistics on migration paths within the store. But that's okay. But then I guess we need to now go from the pilot to the deployment, and I want you to maybe explain, step by step, what has to happen there, because the pilot sounds easy, relatively easy to install, right? We're just putting beacons around. We're adding potentially these wideband sensors, or I said emitters on devices within the store. We've got our gateway. That sounds relatively simple, but what happens when you start, talking about scale, when you start actually want to turn this into an actual deployment from a pilot? What needs to be done?
Yeah, so after the pilots, the most interesting part starts. I think some time ago I published an article on Leantegra blog about all the challenges and risks which people might face during such large-scale installations. Pretty often, people underestimate, all those challenges, and I compared, those large-scale projects, to the tip of the iceberg. People think that, okay, we'll again stick some beacons around, build an app, and it will launch. No, it's not that easy. So let's say that you have a retail chain, like, we are doing for Ace in Israel, which has 30 shops around Israel. So the challenges start even at the planning stage, because a good question, where exactly beacons should be placed, what kind of network is required, whether the coverage will be okay with BLE signals, yes or no. So during the planning stage, you need to have a good tool, to plan and provision your device network. And we have that on our web portal as well. So as I mentioned, you can do that by just dragging and dropping the devices on a map.
Okay, so you get a map of the
Yes.
store, and then you drag and drop,
Yes.
and then you obviously then have to physically put them in the location that matches relatively,
Exactly.
where it is on the map. Okay.
Then there is a question of, building the app itself, because, one of the goals which our customers have and we have is to reach a wider audience, both iPhone users and Android users.
Okay.
According to our experience, with big projects, it's a very challenging task. Maybe in the US it's not that challenging because there is not that much of segmentation of smartphone models. iOS is number one, but here in Ukraine, we have like 20% of very exotic Android models, some Chinese models and so on. So it's very hard, so your SDK must be polished and must consider all those specific differences between smartphone models. What does it mean in practice? That's what we saw at ACE and other locations. So sometimes proximity zones are different. One smartphone model might have, immediate zone in the range from 0 to 1. Another phone model might have that proximity range from 0 to half meter. And near zone, from 1 to 5. And another example is from 1 to 2 meters. So huge differences in the RF radio part of smartphones. Different antennas, different configurations. Then there is also a question of power saving features. Because some vendors, they're enabling aggressively all those power-saving features, so people, they will not get the BLE signals immediately.
Right.
So in practice, you might stay for 20 seconds close to BLE beacon and you will not get any messages. While with iPhone device, you will get a message immediately. So, so to summarize this part, a good SDK for proximity marketing, which targets large deployments for potentially hundreds of thousands of people, not just, something small, must consider, all those specifics of smartphone models.
Right.
Then there is a question of provisioning the whole network. That's what remote management is all about. After you've installed all the beacons, you need to understand which mode will be used, which ones will broadcast just iBeacon packets, which ones just Eddystone packets. We also support the so-called hybrid mode. So hybrid mode is about simultaneous broadcast of both iBeacon and Eddystone packets, to cover a broader set of models. So, you need to write some parameters inside devices, TX power, operating mode, something else. One option is to do it manually, by walking around with a mobile app, coming up to every device, changing parameters, testing. But it might be very time-consuming and effort-consuming, right? So it's a help to automate that part, doing it centrally from the cloud. Then there is also a question about creating campaigns for all those multiple locations, because not all vendors can ship the so-called cross-location proximity campaigns. When you just configure one campaign, and then all beacons in all locations will operate on that campaign. So a specific feature in our platform is called device grouping. You can create device groups, group them together, and then this way you'll be able to operate, single campaign in several locations. That number one. And then, in such large projects, some customers which we have, they request SLAs. SLAs. That's
great.
Yes, SLAs.
So what do they consist of? Then so SLA, for everyone listening, that's service level agreement.
Right.
What's part of the service level agreement for proximity marketing?
Well, at first we have documented response times and resolution times for the issues. Well, the network uptime is important. So if then the resolution time for any device issues. Let's say if some devices do not respond it must be fixed. Then let's say there might be some other issues. So for this part, it's both about remote management and also having the so-called log analytics in place. Because remote troubleshooting for such large networks, it might become a very, very bad thing. An alternative approach without the right system in place is to keep asking questions to your customers. How it has happened, what you've done, what kind of clicks you made, on the web portal. In our case, all this information is recorded, right? So we are able to discover the whole chain of events which happened before the issue.
Right.
And that saves time to fix an issue, because sometimes customers, they either don't have that information, they don't want to.
I don't want to give that information. Yeah, it's like okay, that's your problem, not mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is like the key issues which you might face in the large scale installations. Plus, the last one, I think I forgot to tell. Our platform originally, it has been designed and developed for enterprise environments where multiple people in different roles can operate the same interface. Right? There might be a marketing manager.
The back end, you mean, right?
Yeah, the back end, the web portal.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a marketing manager to create and launch campaigns. There might be an IT specialist, to monitor the device network. There might be like a senior manager to have access to everything. There might be the so-called permission-based environment, with different roles and different views on the same system for different people. Security is important. Information which you can show to different people is important, and with some customers it is even crucial what Leantegra will see and what will not see. It's also possible if customer requests it, guys, you will have access to those logs, but you shouldn't see that kind of logs. It's also possible, to that kind of object-grained, permission-based approach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So just to summarize then, the biggest points are going to be, placing the beacons, right? So when you're actually doing a deployment, actually putting them in the right place.
Yeah.
All the back end, so the provisioning, getting them set up, working on developing the campaigns, making sure that you have the SLA, and then, as part of it, again, on the back end or the web portal is to ensure that different user types can access different information. Is that a summary, or did I miss something in the summary?
Yeah, I think it's a very good summary.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the business side of things. So you mentioned, from my perspective, why do this? And I can understand the use case that you mentioned earlier. You're walking by, you get information. Are there any other on the product, and hopefully it will convince the person to buy it? So I'm going to ask you about metrics in a minute. However, are there any other use cases besides that typical minority report use case? What else is a system like this being used for?
Yeah, so to provide some examples, before I'll do that, I would like to summarize the key solutions which we provide, right? To make it more clear. So proximity marketing is number one. Then RTLS is number two. We discussed it, and we also do location analytics. So with the help of our system, you can just create and launch proximity campaigns, but you can also measure the actual impact on the foot traffic, on the physical behavior of the shoppers. So let's say you launch the campaign, and then you see how the routes, right, the average routes of shoppers inside the store change. That's a very important point. But to answer your specific question, there is a good use case which we call FMCG analytics. This is about, again, attaching location tags to the shopping carts. By default, those tags should be based on ultra-wideband because we need a good location.
As we know, yeah.
And then we measure and we deliver analytics for every brand on the shelf. Not just, for the retailer, but also the brands, for every bottle, for every box. And then the brands, they pay for those kind of reports. Not retailers, but the brands, because for them it's very important to understand, how people are interacting with their products inside the stores. So it's a very popular use case, and we see a growing demand for it.
Now, what do you mean? How consumers are interacting with their brand. I have my drills. They're in aisle 5, halfway down aisle 5 on the right. So I see a customer walk up to it. I see them go away. I see them come back. Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about something a little more sophisticated?
No, I think you covered the bigger part. So we provide location data, where people are walking, then the so-called dwell time, how much time people are spending, let's say, near a shampoo or near, a perfume, whatever. And then we also track the conversions, when a person walked near this shelf, then how much from those people came up to another shelf of the same brand, So it's a very important information which helps with both mobile and offline marketing activities, And then brands and retailers can reposition, the interior and, marketing activities, to improve and to direct the foot traffic and physical behavior, for a better engagement, to increase the dwell time and to increase the conversion rates from passers-by to the shoppers.
So what are the KPIs here? Conversion rate, that makes sense. What are the other big ones that are being measured? So meaning, what are the objectives of your customers? They want to understand, obviously, if I was to buy this system, I would need to determine what the ROI is on it. And so I'm just thinking through, what would be the ROI on this system? Well, for sure, it would be if it increases the sale of, if I get an increase in overall sales. If I'm a store, then that's what I care about. I don't necessarily care that someone buys drill number 1 or drill number 2. I just care that when they come in, they buy a drill versus leaving without a drill. So the conversion rate makes sense as a key indicator. Are there any others that are really that you found to be important? And again, I'm not talking about the brands. I'm talking about the stores.
Yeah, so you're right that conversion rate is number 1 by default because, it brings a tangible value, right? It brings more sales. But it's not always number 1 for all our customers. Okay. Some of them want just, to increase the general engagement rate for their mobile apps. They want to enable new kind of experiences inside stores. I mentioned before the so-called offline to online convergence. To bridge the digital world to the physical world of their stores. For that purpose, they provide valuable content, useful applications. They want to, increase the customer loyalty, So people would stick with their stores. They would increase, customer satisfaction. They like to be more innovative, because it's a part of competition, right? What kind of things and perks you provide to your shoppers, right? It's not just making people buy and buy more. Yes, it's important, but you must also become an interesting place for people, to provide new kind of interactions, to help them make product selections both inside the stores and, let's say, at home. So it's about, providing a better comfort for people as well.
No, I like that a lot, actually. That makes a lot of sense. And I think the key is what you were saying was this offline-online convergence because, heck, I can buy pretty much anything online. However, for certain cases, I like to see them and touch them. But I could see, let's say you're Ace Hardware and you have only, a certain size store, but perhaps you could offer online versions, or you could allow customers to buy an online product that you don't have in the store. So this offline-online convergence, is that the direction, or is there other directions that I'm missing on the online-offline convergence?
No, I think that's one of the key directions. By the way, we have a very, very large project which is specifically focused on the offline to online convergence, and this project is in China. We cannot disclose any more details because of the NDA. But again, the customer really wants, to deploy that kind of feature number 1.
No, and that makes sense because you need to get people in your store, right? Yes. I mean, if they can just buy online, and it's done in different ways. Certain sporting stores here in the U.S. will make it quite grand, and they might even have like a lake in the middle of the store, and it's an experience, like you said. And so I like this concept of being able to increase the engagement with the customer, provide a better experience for the customer. That's stuff that I suppose I would even have on my phone. And then, of course, ultimately, all this is coming down to this conversion rate. But I can see that makes sense to me. I can see there being value also associated with the experience, and then this offline online, which I think is going to be critical for brick and mortar stores in the future. Trying to crack that nut is super valuable, I would think. And is there anything else that you're seeing kind of from because we're really talking about, I guess, the motivators behind doing this, specifically this location-based or proximity-based marketing with the RTLS.
Yeah.
Are there any other motivations that you're seeing? These all make a lot of sense.
Yeah. So let's say for retailers or brands, the use cases which we discussed, yes, they make sense. But then there is a question about, let's say, shopping malls, right, or airports, right, locations where or customers which don't sell anything directly, but still they're interested in such kind of solutions to engage and to analyze the foot traffic. So one example from our customer in Israel, so it's one of the shopping malls there. So what they wanted to do with the help of our solution is to analyze where people are walking after the movie theaters, right? After they watch the movies. So which ones are going, let's say, to the shops, which ones are going, let's say, to restaurants, which people are just walking out, out of the shopping mall. And then they're planning and adapting marketing campaigns. They can just put, let's say, an ice cream, small mobile ice cream shop near the place where people are going out from the movie theater to redirect the foot traffic to the shops, right? To control the foot traffic, how they're working. Sure. So it's a kind of, maybe it's more like an evil goal, business goal, but still, it's a good instrument, to control and to analyze the foot traffic, to direct it, to the shops where the money can be spent,
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And a lot of this is powered by analytics. So I do want to get into that. I think we've looked at it from one direction, but maybe let's look at it from the inside out as opposed to the outside in, meaning what is the analytics package, that our audience should be considering if they're looking for a location-based system, whether it's a tracking system or marketing system. What type of analytics, what are the classes of analytics that should be there to be able to enable all these, I guess, these outcomes or these use cases that we've been talking about so far?
Yeah, so in our products, we support two kinds of analytics. The first one is based on RTLS. This is about, discovering, again, the indoor location data and then doing things like data aggregation, processing to provide the business metrics on the web portal. And the second type, this is about, getting statistics for the campaigns. Let's say if you created a campaign, then how many people opened the content, how many people actually clicked on the picture, CTR, click-through rate, and so on and so on. Plus, we have attached some location data to the campaign analytics as well. Dwell time, how much people stayed close to the beacons, BLE beacons, and so on and so on. So from technical perspective, there are two approaches. So RTLS-based approach, it doesn't require any app installations. Basically, we just collect the wireless traffic, right, and deliver the metrics. And for the campaigns, that's what mobile SDKs provide, right? So let's say if a mobile app is close to a beacon, we measure the time which is spent there, dwell time, and can attach dwell time to the campaign efficiency.
Right. Okay.
There is a very important thing here. We provide both types of analytics on the same dashboard. So you can view how the results of the campaigns, the campaign analytics actually impact the foot traffic behavior, again, the locations of the people inside the stores.
Yeah, I would think that would be crucial, and that would be key, is your value here is being, again, bringing together the offline and the online and pulling together the insights for both, because a lot of what you were describing, if it was isolated from the location, would be like web analytics. So, okay, right, that's good, but then coupling that in the real world, putting it into the real 3D space is super interesting. And I can see there could also be a big connection, and maybe if you look at it from a certain way, it is a type of augmented reality in a sense also, or maybe that's an extension of this. But again, I'm kind of going back to this offline, online, because I'm seeing this as, in my opinion anyway, being the biggest mega, driver for this, is trying to increase the relevancy of physical locations when you're buying things. And that would bring in augmented reality too, where maybe you move your phone, and I guess that's just really an interface of what we've been talking about. But is there an augmented reality component of this, or is it kind of all? Is that what we've been talking about since the beginning, really?
Yeah, so we've been thinking, some time ago to add some AR features, to do indoor navigation using AR, show, some visuals like arrows which direct you to the shelves. But it's for now it's something extraneous, and according to some feedbacks, it's not that useful. Still, it's not very useful because it's a bit complicated. All those 3D AR graphics, overlaid on a smartphone screen. So it's not for the masses yet.
Yeah. Now, what about just general? I know, again, going back to these large hardware stores that I like to frequent with my son in particular, I like to shop, so we just like to browse, I should say, and just look at all the power tools and look at the, just the cool spikes and all the rest of it, big screws and so forth. But what about indoor navigation? Does this play into that? Because sometimes I just don't know if I'm just going there commando style and I just want to go in and out as fast as possible. I'm not doing the browsing experience. It'd be great to be able to locate where I want to go, drills, where is that, and then put it on a map. Is that separate from this, or is it somehow related?
No, it's related. Again, so we don't have a production-grade version of indoor navigation, but we plan to complete it soon. So it will be, again, like a single unified experience with proximity marketing, indoor guidance and navigation, and location analytics. And your example with the hardware store, I think, is the best possible use case. Like here in Kiev, we have a large supermarket for hardware called Epicenter. It has, tens of thousands of brands, for drills, for bolts, for many things. Sometimes it might become a real challenge, and you might walk, for half an hour just to find the right product. So in the navigation and map-based search, you just type product type or category, and there will be like a real-time indoor routing thing, on a map. It can help you a lot. Plus, some of our customers, they also attach, B2C messaging features, so you can select a product, then you can ask for assistance using mobile app, and you can chat with a sales assistant. You can ask questions, using the mobile, like what's the best drill for my needs, right? And they will tell you, model A, model B, and there'll be an automatic indoor routing to the right, device inside the store.
Now, that's another excellent example of this offline-online convergence where you can take just take the benefit of both of them. Oleg, excellent. I enjoyed our conversation. I learned a lot. Now, tell everyone, where can they find out more about you and your company and what you sell?
Yeah, so I think the best place to find some more information about Leantegra and our products will be our website. So it's very easy to start and to evaluate our products. So the website's address is leantegra.com.
And I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, thanks. And there is a web page called Developers. So that page has all the SDKs, data sheets in place, so you can, actually start playing with our platform even today. Plus, there is an access to the demo version of our portal. So if you want to do the actual clicks on the portal, try and see how it works, provision some devices, play with campaigns, you can do it today free of charge.
And how far? Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
Then, if you want to try some pilots, not just, viewing SDKs and portals, you can order some demo kits, which are pretty cheap, So Power Mode BLE demo kit with the 3 devices, it costs $99.
Wow. Okay.
So just for $99, you will get the devices, the web portal in the cloud, which we provide free of charge, all the SDKs, and we also provide the so-called reference mobile apps for iOS and Android. So if you want to organize a demo to your end customers, you just need to pay $100, right? And we will give you everything: apps, cloud, portal, devices, everything you need, to start your sales.
And you were saying, so $99 is sort of, be able to show some very high level proof of concept. But to get to kind of a prototype, you were talking about around a $2,000 cost. And then to go into deployment, just give us some ranges, because obviously this is going to be dependent on a lot of things. But what have you seen as the range of costs for actually deploying a system like this?
I think it hugely depends on the set of features which you bundle.
Sure.
If it is just about proximity marketing without RTLS, then the costs will be lower. So let's say for a store like Ace, where we are installing from 20 to 30 BLE beacons, right? Costs will be, again, 2,000-3,000. Then if you want remote management, so we'll need to install power beacons, and to install some cables and so on. It might be an extra 1.5K. Now, if you want to also enable RTLS and location analytics, to do Wi-Fi RTLS, maybe that use case about FMCG analytics using location tags on the shopping carts, we will need to install more of our power beacons. The amount and how we calculate it, again, it depends upon the floor plans, right, and on the building specifics, but the basic formula here is the following one. So one power beacon covers 250 square meters. So let's say if you have an expo center, right, or a large shopping mall with 10,000 square meters of space, then to cover it completely with RTLS and location analytics, we will need 40 power beacons. And one power beacon is like $350. So let's multiply, so that 40 that's around 14K. But that's for a complete shopping mall, with fully covered with RTLS, fully covered with proximity marketing, all features. I think it's not.
That's for the hardware, though, right?
Yes.
That's not the software.
That's hardware. Yes, that's for the hardware. Then we also have the second part, which is about the subscription model. So we also charge per device per month, which is $40 for power beacon and $2 for power mode.
Got it.
Why is that needed? Because at first we provide the cloud instance, right, which we support. We provide SLA. We have dedicated IT engineers which administer your instance. Plus all the data, and for a large shopping mall or a supermarket, it might be terabytes of data per year. So you need to keep the data somewhere, right, in our database. And the costs for infrastructure might grow. So we include all those costs and the actual operations into those monthly subscription fees.
So if I'm to just spitball this and do a rough calculation for, let's say, a smaller type hardware store, then correct me if I'm wrong, but we're talking about probably around a 30K installation and maybe about 3K per month. Is that am I in the ballpark?
Yeah, that would be for a very large shopping mall, which has both RTLS and proximity marketing features in place. Just for proximity marketing, it will be 3 times less.
Wow. Okay, and including the monthly fee of $3,000, it would be 3 times less. It would be only $1,000 per month then.
Yes, if it's just for proximity marketing, then the monthly fees will be even less, like, I don't know, 1,000 or something per month. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's quite reasonable. I mean, obviously, there's still maturity that has to happen in this market. Certainly seems worth the price. Certainly seems cutting edge. Oleg, anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
Well, I think we covered pretty much everything. So I just want to say thank you for this great session and very good questions. So
excellent. All right. Well, thank you. As I said, so everybody, everything that Oleg has mentioned, I'll be putting in the show analysis notes. So go and visit them for the links. I think it sounds, if you're interested in location-based marketing or even the RTLS this seems like a system that you can get up and running pretty easily, test things out. And I think from the conversation, you can tell that Oleg's a pretty good guy. So thank you. Thank you, Oleg, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you, Bruce. Thanks a lot.
Okay, that was a good talk with Oleg Puzanov. This podcast goes vertical, deep diving into different topics each week. If you prefer a more horizontal and structured approach to learning IoT business and its orbiting technologies, check out my book IoT Inc., published by McGraw-Hill, or become a certified IoT professional by completing the ICIP training and certification program. For details, just go to www.iot-inc.com. Also go to www.iot-inc.com for an analysis of this episode, links to things that were mentioned during the episode, and very importantly, the episode's PDF transcript. Just search for the name of the episode or the guest. If you're new to this podcast, subscribe. That way you'll get every week's episode delivered straight to your device. Or, if you've been listening for a while, there are 3 ways you can support the show. You can leave a rating or a review on iTunes. Just go to iot-inc.com/iTunes. It only takes 1 click to leave a rating, a little bit longer to leave a review. You can share it on social. I'm on LinkedIn, to a lesser extent on Twitter. And of course, you can support this show by buying my book, IoT Inc., or the ICIP training and certification program. It's how I pay the bills. Next week's episode is Business Lessons for the IoT Professional with me. I hope you can join me then. I'm your host, Bruce Sinclair. Thank you for listening. Until next week, may your path to IoT business be a processed one.
You have been listening to the IoT Inc. Business Show.